Sweden vs Australia live updates, highlights from 2023 World Cup. It's all over in Brisbane and Sweden have won the third-placed playoff with a professional 2-0 win over CO hosts Australia. Apart from a brief spell in the first half, Sweden were in control for much of the match against a Matildas side who were clearly affected by fatigue from a physically and mentally draining tournament. They can still be incredibly proud of their efforts, but it's something of an anticlimactic for Australia. Sweden secured third place at the 2023 Women's World Cup with a 2-0 win over CO hosts Australia at Brisbane Stadium. Goals in either half from Fridolina Rolfo and Kosovare Asllani sealed a deserved win for the Blågult, who nullified Australia and were in almost complete control against a Matildas side whose physical and mental fatigue caught up with them. Both sides surprisingly named unchanged lineups for a match that usually sees heavy rotation, but that seemed a poor decision from Australia coach Tony Gustafsson, whose team looked sluggish and off the pace from the get-go, Sweden having their first chance through Stina Blackstenius after 2 minutes. Hayley Rosso had Australia's best chance when she forced Cecilia Musovic into a smart stop at her near post, but a controversial VAR review then gave Sweden a penalty after Claire Hunt, who had an otherwise excellent game, was adjudged to have fouled Blackstenius. Rolfo stepped up from the spot and buried the penalty, giving Sweden a deserved lead during a half in which Australia struggled to impose themselves. Despite the team clearly needing changes, Gustafsson waited until the hour mark to do so. 2 minutes later, Sweden doubled their lead through a clinical counter-attack that led to Asllani firing a brilliant strike past Mackenzie Arnold. Sweden were able to see out the game comfortably and claim third at a World Cup for a fourth time as Australia unsuccessfully resorted to long balls and crosses in their attempts to find a route into the game. The signs had been there against the Lionesses, but Gustafsson kept the same team once again, a plan that backfired as passes went astray. Touches were heavier than normal and Australia were overrun by a Sweden side who appeared to carry an extra step in their stride. The likes of Katrina Gorry and Ellie Carpenter probably shouldn't have started and really should have been removed at halftime, instead of on 60 minutes and 74 minutes respectively. Sweden captain Asllani rolls back the years. She hasn't always been the standout player for Sweden at the World Cup, but skipper Kosovare Asllani turned back the clock with a vintage performance at both ends of the pitch. Defensively, she proved a constant source of problems for a tired Katrina Gorry, marking and hassling the midfielder to limit her effectiveness and, in turn, hinder Australia's game. From an attacking angle, Asllani was involved in everything, controlling the tempo, moving the Australians around and scoring brilliantly from long range after fine build-up play. Her time has been managed more than others at this tournament and she was used to full strength against a flagging Matildas team. Australia can take pride in Women's World Cup results. This was a tough way to end what has been a successful tournament for Australia, who united a nation and created some of the greatest moments in football history in the country. Their wins over Canada, Denmark, and France saw scenes of wild jubilation down under in a country where football is not the dominant code, and will hopefully prompt politicians to support the game more at all levels. There is some sense of what could have been. What if Sam Kerr was fully fit? What if Alana Kennedy wasn't injured in the final 2 games? What if Gustafsson didn't have a crippling fear of early substitutions? These are intriguing if painful questions, but the overwhelming feeling for Australia as a nation should be a great sense of pride, as the Matildas have now become a household name.